guys, this is Donald's Movies, and today I'll be talking about the trolls and the loa, as I promised previously in a few Q&As back. And I will also be talking about all that, spiritual stuff, that kind of confuses a lot of people, as I've been getting a lot of questions and requests to do this type of a video. So in this video I will go over a few points and some parts of the troll history, although I won't go too much into detail as I plan on making a bigger video just on the troll history. Also, I will try to explain more about the loas, what they are, how everything pretty much works out, and also I will mention some important laws that are kinda, part of the Warcraft history. So let's just start. So first of all, let's just talk a bit about the troll history, and as I said, I won't go too much into it because I plan on making a bigger video on that. So the trolls, as you may know, are one of the oldest races in the world of Azeroth, and they actually even predate Titans, so they are one of the, known as the seed races of the world. And I mean, when you think about it, just the Night Elves are considered to be one of the oldest races on the world. And the Night Elves are only just a part of the trolls that kind of split off from the main tribe and found the Well of Eternity. And now, back in the day, the trolls were actually one of the strongest races around and used to pretty much rule over the entire Kalimdor. And do keep in mind that back then, that was around like 16,000 years ago, back from this point in time, everything was pretty much just in one continent, so Kalimdor was like this huge ground mass, and they pretty much ruled over most of that, so they were a really powerful empire. So you may notice that there are countless troll tribes today, and there's just so many of them that sometimes you can even lose track, as some of them are kind of, these small cults or like these sects or whatnot that worship certain loa or practice different magic from the normal trolls. And now the first ever tribe was the Zandalari tribe, and I would actually call the Zandalari the seed tribe because pretty much every other troll tribe originated from the Zandalari tribe as they split away from them. So some of the tribe members didn't have a really good position there, or they weren't just treated right. So they split away from the main Zandalari tribe, and thus a few other tribes were formed, such as the well-known Gurubashi or the Amani tribe. Now, do keep in mind that this is thousands of years before the Great Sundering of the world, which was around 10,000 years from this point in time. So I won't go too much into detail on what happened there and how the Night Elves formed and how they kind of, invited the Burning Legion with their magic and all of that, as there is a bunch of resources for that, and I will probably make a video at one point covering the entire timeline of the War of the Ancients. But the times after the Sundering though were pretty bad for the trolls, as the continent split up and the cataclysm destroyed their homes. However, they did kind of rebuild their previous glory in the distant parts of the torn apart world, but that wasn't nearly the same as it was before, as they had these like huge cities and just a gigantic empire. So sometime after that is around centuries after the Great Sundering, the times were pretty hard for the tribes, especially the Gurubashi, as death and starvation kind of plagued their broken kingdom, so they sought help from the darker forces, and of course Hakkar, the Soul Flayer, answered their calls. Now, Hakkar is kind of a really confusing character in the Warcraft history, as he's supposed to be one of the main Dark Loa gods, like the evil ones. And just to keep things clear, I haven't mentioned it before, but Loa are pretty much the ancient spirits of Azeroth that even predate the Titan's arrival to the world of Azeroth. Now, he's a really evil character and is known as the Loa of Blood. Now, there are some speculations going around that he's an old god and is a specific type of evil in the world, although if he was ever to be an old god, he wouldn't really be the same type of an old god, such as Khatoon or Yogg-Saron, but he's kind of, his origin isn't really all that known. And most of the troll origin isn't known as well, because they didn't really keep track of their history through all those thousands of years. So, as I previously mentioned, he is known as the Loa of Blood, and that is for a very good reason. I mean, he did gift the Gurubashi immense power, but he did demand a lot in return, and that means he wanted daily sacrifices from the trolls. And now the reason for those sacrifices was because every time he would receive a mortal sacrifice, he would be one step closer to joining the actual world and not being the Loa. and that meant that if he sacrificed enough mortals, he would be able to get into our world and pretty much sacrifice anyone who would stand in his way and get all the blood he wanted for himself without, expecting sacrifices from these trolls. And the Gurubashi soon realized what he was trying to do, and there was like this gigantic war, civil war, going on between the followers of Hakkar, the Soul Flayer, and his opposers. I mean, his opposers actually the normal trolls. And now this event is really relevant as the Skull Splitter, the Blood Scalp, and the Dark Spirit tribe were made from the broken Gurubashi Empire, and as I said, the Gurubashi Empire was made after the Civil War when everything pretty much broke apart. And currently, the Dark Spirit tribe is the only tribe around that is kind of on the rise and isn't evil. I mean, there are a few of them, but as you might have noticed in the recent history, I mean, the Zandalari were pretty much destroyed. First of all, they were kind of regrouped and they were destroyed in Cataclysm, and after that they kind of tried to do the same thing in Pandaria, but then they were destroyed, and a lot of the trolls today are pretty much torn apart and they barely even exist, although the Dark Spirit tribe is kind of, the only troll tribe that is kind of doing good apart from the other tribes. So that is a bit of a backstory of the trolls and how the current tribes came to be. Now, the trolls are very different from other races around Azeroth, as they're very primitive and they're very, ritual people as well. Now, they pretty much eat raw food with their bare hands, and I mean, even using a knife is like fine dining for them. And they commonly practice cannibalism and all sorts of these vile acts, like cutting off ears and all sorts of like making those necklaces of tooth and ears and whatnot. So all sorts of weird stuff. Now, one of the things that sets them apart from the other races is the fact that they worship the spirits known as the loas. I mean, a lot of races do, but not in the same form as the trolls do, as the loas. And there are many loas in the world of Azeroth today. Now, they kind of split into groups, as not all of them are super powerful, such as Hakkar, and he is known as the Loa god, but generally the Loas, if there was like a power scale, the Loas would be just about the elementals, but under the old gods, so they are very, very much powerful. Now, sometimes they can be shapeless, and in most cases, they take animal or creature forms. So all of the trolls worship the Loas, and like these Loas grant them powers for their sacrifices and rituals, and they also grant them their regeneration powers that the trolls are very known for today. Well, not today, because they had the regeneration powers for ages until now. Now, not all of the Loas are really bloodthirsty as Hakkar and just require certain rituals or whatnot in order to bless their worshippers with their powers. And it is actually believed by the trolls that when certain very powerful trolls die, they turn into Loas. So in example, Zul'jin, when he was killed in Warcraft 3, it is believed that he is a Loa now, and I believe that was described in like a story on the World of Warcraft website, like the story about vol'jin. And now that is kind of a reference, to the real world and the religion, as in our world, I mean, people used to believe that certain people were saints and they turned into like saints when they died, and the same thing is going on with the trolls in the Warcraft universe, even though it has never actually been officially confirmed that the trolls turn into Loas. So it is kind of hard to tell how it all works out for the trolls in the game, as the mechanics, like the in-game stuff, is a bit different from the actual story. So an example, I mean, you have the troll priests, and the troll priests in the game don't worship the light, but instead they worship certain Loas, and usually it is just one Loa, but sometimes that Loa can have like a pact with another Loa, so that would kind of explain, the light and the shadow spec and all of that. Now, even though it actually looks a bit different in the game, I mean, when the troll priests heal in the lore, it would be completely different. So for example, I mean, when a human or a dwarf priest or a Draenei priest heal, what pretty much happens is they get like this light and it fixes the wound, while it would kind of look pretty much different for the trolls, as the spells of the troll priests would kind of reflect the Loa that they serve. So for example, if it was like a bat Loa or like a raptor Loa, it would be something related to that and it wouldn't be just light or whatnot. But I guess that is a bit different as in the game, and it is a bit hard to portray in the game, as I mean, it would be a really weird, I mean, it would be an interesting class if they added that, but it would still be a bit weird, you know, like you could choose like different loas and have different spells or whatnot, but it would be a cool addition, as I said. So even though, as I said, you can see the spells in different in the game, they are pretty well different from that in the lore. Alright, so I hope this video kind of cleared out a few things if you didn't know too much about the loas, as honestly it is a bit confusing part of the story, and I will be making a new video at some point that will cover the entire troll history, and it should be something similar to that video I made if you check that out, the Draenei lore. And yeah, although obviously improved, because hopefully over time I will improve my videos, and the Draenei video was made like half a year ago, so the trolls video should be a lot higher quality than that, but around the same type of video, if you know what I mean.
Trolls once ruled the mightiest empire this world has ever seen. Yet look at you now. Zul'jin has already fallen to the scourge. Its gods consumed as death descended on its people. Zul'jin, once the shining jewel of Tanaris, is now nothing but a wasteland. Divided, you are weak. But we, Zandalari, can offer you a future undreamed of.
So that is all I have for now. Don't forget to like, favorite and subscribe, and also give some feedback on what you think and what you would like to see next. Anyways, thanks for watching, see you next time.